Think Christmas carols are just about Santa and sleigh bells? Think again. What if I told you the cheerful tunes you love actually have a surprising origin, deeply rooted in the gritty workshops of medieval Europe? You're humming jingle bells in your head right now. But have you ever wondered who really invented Christmas carols? It wasn't modern carolers, and it wasn't even the medieval church, at least not the way most people imagine. Imagine strolling through a bustling medieval town. The clanging of hammers on anvils, the shuffle of looms, the aroma of fresh bread drifting through narrow cobblestone streets. Now picture that world giving birth to the very Christmas carols you'll be singing next month. It sounds unbelievable, right? Today, we're unwrapping one of the most overlooked chapters in holiday history, the astonishing connection between medieval craft guilds and the joyous music that fills our Christmas celebrations. Let's step back in time. When people hear medieval guild, they imagine strict trade organizations, blacksmiths pounding iron, weavers hunched over looms, bakers kneading dough before sunrise. And yes, guilds were centers of craftsmanship and quality control. They regulated prices, protected workers, and maintained high standards in towns across Europe. But guilds were not merely economic institutions. They were social engines, mini societies with their own traditions, rituals, festivities, and responsibilities. They shaped the very culture of medieval towns. Now, let's connect this to Christmas carols. Most of us assume carols came straight from churches or from wandering folk musicians, but that's only part of the story. The truth is far more complex and far more entertaining. Guilds were perfectly positioned, culturally and socially, to play a major role in creating, supporting, and spreading early carols. And that surprising intersection between skilled labor and joyful music is where our story begins. Guilds didn't just manage trades, they created community. Every guild held annual feasts and gatherings. These events weren't quiet dinners, they were lively, often extravagant celebrations that included food, drink, storytelling, performance, and most importantly for us, music. A guild feast might commemorate a patron saint, mark the election of new officers, celebrate major holidays, or simply honor a prosperous year. During these feasts, guild members sang songs, some humorous, some reverent. Some meant purely to entertain weary craftsmen after days of backbreaking work. And guilds didn't stop at feasts. They sponsored processions through their towns. Imagine lines of shoemakers marching proudly behind banners, embroidered with golden boots. Or butchers parading through the streets dressed in their finest shirts, accompanied by lively instrumentalists. Music was everywhere, part of their identity, part of their public face, part of the way they brought communities together. Now add one more piece to the puzzle: mystery plays and miracle plays. These were religious dramas, often performed during Advent or Christmas, staged and sponsored by guilds. Yes, the Carpenters Guild might perform the Nativity story. The shipwrights might stage Noah's Ark. Bakers might reenact the Last Supper, bringing their skills and tools into elaborate sets and props. These plays included spoken lines, dramatic storytelling, and, crucially, songs. Not hymns, not chants, but early forms of carols. Rhythmic, catchy, sometimes danced to, sometimes humorous, always memorable. Guilds inadvertently created the perfect breeding ground for these tunes. And through these performances, the seeds of the modern Christmas carol were sown. Originally, carols were not religious songs at all. In fact, the word carol comes from a medieval dance, circular, lively, accompanied by singing. Think of it as a festive group dance with music woven into it. Guilds adopted these songs for their celebrations, and because guild feasts often followed the Christian calendar, the themes slowly shifted. Over time, as Christmas became an increasingly important holiday in medieval Europe, guild celebrations around December grew more elaborate. And the songs followed suit. Guilds had money. They had organizational structure. They could hire musicians, commission compositions, and support performers. These resources allowed the music they used to evolve. Many guilds maintained official musicians or invited local performers to their events. These musicians composed or adapted songs, blending Christian stories with the rhythmic, dance-like qualities of traditional carols. Suddenly, a tune that once celebrated the arrival of spring or a good harvest might be rewritten to honor the Nativity. And who helped spread these tunes? Apprentices and journeymen. Young workers traveled between towns, learning their craft. They carried knowledge, gossip, skills, and songs. When an apprentice brought a catchy tune from one guild hall to another, it could ripple across a region. Each town added its own flavor. A blacksmith's guild in one city might add a robust, rhythmic beat. A weaver's guild elsewhere might soften the melody to mimic the rhythm of looms. A baker's guild might shape verses into simple, repeating patterns, easy for everyday people to remember. Through guilds, carols evolved, expanded, and flourished. By the late Middle Ages, carols had outgrown their guild origins. They spread from workshops and guild halls into open squares, marketplaces, and eventually private homes. As guilds staged public plays or paraded through towns during feast days, ordinary townspeople heard the music and learned it. Because guild members often traveled for trade fairs or festivals, they carried these songs far beyond the towns where they originated. Carols leapt from region to region, adapted each time they were adopted by a new community. As Christmas celebrations grew more central to European cultural life, these songs naturally gravitated toward the season. Some became devotional, some remained festive, but all carried echoes of their guild roots: communal, rhythmic, celebratory. By the Renaissance, the idea of going caroling, singing from house to house, was already becoming a tradition, built on the momentum guilds had set centuries earlier. And so, the music once sung by blacksmiths during a winter feast, or performed by tailors in a nativity play, survived long after the guilds themselves declined. So, what's the legacy of medieval guilds on today's Christmas carols? They helped transform carols from simple dance tunes into festive communal songs tied to one of the most cherished holidays of the year. They funded performers, staged plays that relied on music, and provided the social spaces where early carols could flourish. They encouraged travel, cultural exchange, and creativity among their members, and they blended work, community, and faith into a musical tradition that still resonates. The next time you sing a carol, whether it's "Deck the Halls," "God Rest You Merry Gentlemen," or "O Come All Ye Faithful," you're participating in a centuries-old tradition shaped by the hands and voices of medieval craftsmen. Our holiday soundtrack didn't come solely from churches, courts, or wandering minstrels. It was built, refined, and spread by everyday workers: the bakers, the smiths, the tailors, the coopers, whose guilds forged the world of medieval culture. And that's something worth celebrating. Before you go, share your favorite Christmas carol in the comments, and now that you know its surprising history, tell us what it means to you. Thanks for joining this journey into the past, and until next time, may your holidays be filled with music, history, and wonder. No more, be more.